The idea of humility is to include modesty and meekness with a focus on the needs of others over ourselves. So we see some great examples of that in the scriptures. Good morning. This is Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisti, Illinois, with your thoughts for Thursday. When the church was first founded in Acts chapter 2, at the day of Pentecost, there were many in the body of believers that were persecuted. Many of them lost their jobs and their living. During this time, there were those who were added to the church. The Bible says somewhere around 3,000. And they had all things in common, which means that they shared everything that they owned as everyone else had need. One young man, in particular among the membership, must have been wealthier than most. He's not immediately known for his status of wealth or even his pride of ownership. But the Bible tells us in Acts chapter 4 and verse 36, and Joseph, who was also named Barnabas by the apostles, which is translated son of encouragement, a Levite of the country of Cyprus, having land, sold it and brought the money and laid it at the apostles' feet. One of the first things we read about this individual is that he is known for the way he treats those around him with an unselfish manner. Even though his name was Joseph, they all came to know him as Barnabas, which they tell us being interpreted is the son of encouragement. You know, names meant so much in that era that this is an apt description of what the man Joseph is actually like. He was known for encouraging others in so many ways. Here is the action that is explained here. He had some land that he was not really using at the time, and rather than holding on to his possessions, he sold it in order to help others. I personally love the description that says he laid the money at the apostles' feet. Rather than designating his offering as some selfish gesture with his donation, he let the apostles decide where it was needed most among their number. Now, this act of humility is so opposite from Acts chapter 5, where we find Ananias and Sapphira wanting some notoriety. They sold some land, but they didn't give all the money. They kept back a lot for themselves and just told everyone they were giving it all. And the Bible says that the Spirit struck them dead in the doorway of the church house. Now, fast forward to Acts chapter 11 and verse 25. And Barnabas brings Saul of Tarsus to Antioch, to a church where he has been working, in order to make him a teacher among the early church. This was a time when most Christians were still fearful of this Saul of Tarsus because of the way he had persecuted the church. But Barnabas is an encourager, and in his humility, he said, I'd like to exalt him to a position of leadership. Then Barnabas and Paul take their first missionary journey. And a young man named John Mark decides to go along with him, but he deserts the team somewhere along the trip and returns home. So Paul is not willing to give him a second chance. When they start out on a second missionary journey, Paul says, I won't take him. But Barnabas, being that humble man and certainly that encourager, he deserts Paul in order to pick up John Mark and take their own missionary journey in a different way. This is an example of humility and selflessness that multiplies wherever he goes, it seems. He doesn't care about his possessions. He doesn't care about having his own way. He doesn't even care about his reputation. He is going to care for others. Such a beautiful example of humility. This is a picture of humility that we all could follow, for that matter. It's not all about me. As a matter of fact, we need to be taking some steps today that would help others, but certainly give God all the glory in our lives.